Well, happy Monday to you, and I hope you really enjoyed your weekend. The lovely rain we had on Saturday and then the beautiful day on Sunday. We're going to start this week just by finishing up Chapter 8. Today's our last lesson on the improper integrals, and then we'll spend a couple days reviewing and finish up with a test on Thursday. So what we're going to talk about today are how to evaluate improper integrals using a test for convergence called the comparison test. And this will help us evaluate integrals we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. When we compare two functions, we're talking about comparing their size, the relative size of their y values. And so it helps to just have a good working sense of when you compare two functions, which one's larger or not. So let's look at this first set here. Okay, as we compare the two hyperbolas, 1 over x and 1 over x plus 2, as x grows, as x approaches infinity, one function will slightly exceed the other function. So it helps to understand what the denominators are doing. So let's look at the two compare the two denominators to do an overall comparison. Since we're adding 2 to the denominator, then the denominator of the second one will always be larger. And when a denominator is greater, it means the overall function is smaller because this is a fraction. And so as the denominator gets bigger, the value gets smaller. And so we put the inequality going this direction because a larger denominator results in a smaller value. So if we look at the next two functions and we compare the two denominators to each other, the second denominator will always be smaller. And if that denominator is always smaller, its overall value is going to be larger than the other one. And so we're going to put the inequality this way. For exponentials, we know that exponentials grow infinitely large. They get large very, very quickly. But if you compare their powers, one will get larger more quickly than the other. It has a faster growth rate. And so in this case, it's the power with the x squared is the larger one. But with the exponentials that are negative, you got to think of them as a fraction. So e to the negative x is 1 over e to the x. And e to the negative x squared is 1 over e to the x squared. And now in this case, we've got a denominator. The second denominator here is always going to be the larger denominator. And so that will be the smaller value. So the inequality will go that way. So just helpful to have a number sense when you're talking about comparing two functions together. All right, so we're going to use this idea of comparing functions. We're also going to translate it to comparing integrals. We can determine sometimes whether an integral will converge or not without actually finding the integral itself, just by comparing it to something else. So sometimes you have an integral that is really hard to evaluate. Okay, it's not easily integrable, and you don't have Math 9 at your fingertips, and so how can you determine if it will converge or not? So you want to compare it to a function that you can integrate, one that is more easily integrable, but also be able to compare their function values. So if you've got two functions, f and g, and they're both continuous on the same domain, and if they're both positive, but the f function is always the smaller of the two. Okay, so yes, they have to be greater than 0, but f is always less than or equal to the g of x. Okay, then the integral comparison test says you can compare their integrals. And you can determine that the smaller function will converge if the larger function converges. So if you can prove the larger function converges, then the smaller one must converge also. So think of that visually. if I can prove that the larger of the two function, let's see if I'm trying to write backwards here. Okay, if that converges, then the function that is smaller than it, less than or equal to, f of x, must also converge. If the bigger one is converging to a number and getting smaller, then the smaller one is forced to do the same thing. Or you can show if the larger function diverges, okay, or that the larger function will diverge if the smaller function also diverges. It will force them to diverge. If the smaller function is diverging, growing without bound, then that's going to the larger function has to stay larger than that, so it has to diverge also. That is the comparison test. So let's try it with a couple integrals. Does the integral from 1 to infinity of e to the x squared dx converge or not? Well, this is not a function we can easily integrate. E to the negative x squared does not have a nice antiderivative without having a u that I could do a u substitution with. There's no product here. Well, we established that e to the negative x compared to e to the negative x squared. We established on an earlier slide that the inequality would go that direction. Well, if the inequality for the functions goes that direction, then the inequality for their integrals is going to go that direction also. So let's figure out what this one does. This is the larger of the two functions. Okay, well, we can integrate that. We get negative e to the negative x plus c going on bounds from 1 to b, and the limit is b is approaching infinity. That has to be greater than the integral of e to the negative x squared dx. And so when we evaluate the limit as b approaches infinity of negative 1 over e to the b minus negative 1 over e to the first. Don't need the limit on that part because that one I just plugged in the number 1 to that, so I get a double negative. And when I substitute in infinity in here, I get negative 1 over e to the infinity plus 1 over e. So this is going to simplify. Of course, this goes to 0. And so I'm going to get 1 over e. It converges to the value of 1 over e. Well, that's greater than the integral from e to the negative x squared dx. So if the integral of e to the negative x dx converged to a value, that must force the smaller integral to also converge. Now notice it doesn't converge to the same value, but it converges to either that value or less. Okay, now please note that I'm not saying that this will converge to 1 over e also. It will just simply converge. That's all we can prove with the integral comparison test. We can't prove what it will converge to. We just can prove that it will converge to something. All right, let's take a look at another one. How about this integral here? This is an integral that's indefinite on both ends. Will it converge or not? When I think of this, let me give you a visual a second of this function. If you take a look at it, a quick sketch would give you a function that looks like this. And so we're looking at, okay, what about the area here? Okay, will that area converge? Well, I'm going to first use symmetry to my advantage here, and that's going to help eliminate one of those problematic bounds. So I could start with an integral that goes from negative infinity to positive infinity of the square root of x to the 6th plus 1, but that would be the same as 2 plus the integral of the symmetric integral from 0 to infinity. And then, so that effectively gets rid of one side of my graph, and I'll just be doubling my answer. And I'm also going to do a little trick here. So I'm going to teach you about splicing your interval, and pick a random value. 1 works, 10 works, 100 works. It really wouldn't matter. Just pick a value. We could even keep it random and say a, but I'll say 1. So we could say, all right, this should be equal to the integral if I splice it from 0 to 1. Oh, I was missing my dx here. Of 1 over the square root x to the 6th plus 1 dx plus 2 times the integral going from 1 to infinity. And that's just going to make our math a little bit easier. All right, so hopefully, okay, so you get symmetry, was how we did it first, and then a technique called splicing. All right, how splicing helps us is that the area bounded up until the point where you chose to splice, and again, that point could be random. You can go as far down the x-axis as you want. The point is, no matter where you place that, that will be a finite number. It's a definite integral, and so that would be a finite number. So we're going to say this is finite. But it's this integral that is infinite. And so that's the integral I'm going to put my energy on, is figuring out what's going on that integral. That's the infinite and indefinite integral, so we want to look at that. All right, so now we know we're going to do a comparison here. The integral that starts from 1 to infinity, or 2 times that integral, of x to the 6th plus 1 dx, that is guaranteed to be less than or equal to the integral with the same bounds over the function the square root of x to the 6th. I know that's true because the integral, or the denominator of the left one, is larger in value, which means the function, the fraction, is smaller in value. So we have that comparison set up. So now I'm going to focus my efforts on a simpler equation that loses the plus 1. That plus 1 doesn't give me a problem anymore. And so now I want to focus on that improper integral. So from now on, we're going to be looking at the limit as b approaches infinity of an integral going from 1 to b. And I'm going to put my 2 inside. And the square root of x to the 6th simplifies to x to the 3rd. So let's focus on figuring out what this integral does. So my antiderivative would be 2 x to the negative 2 divided by negative 2 plus c going from 1 to b. And to simplify that, I'll write that as negative 1 over x squared going from 1 to b. So now I'm going to plug my bounds in. And I'll have negative 1 over b squared minus negative 1 over 1 squared. So my double negative gives me a plus. So we know that the value when I plug in infinity here, this whole thing is going to go to 0. So I'll get 0 plus 1, which is 1. What that tells me is that this integral converges. If the larger integral converges, then I can trace my way backwards through those breadcrumbs. That means that this integral also converges. And if that integral converged, then that means that this is no longer infinite. It is convergent to a finite value. So then I've got a finite integral plus a convergent integral, which is convergent altogether. And so the whole thing is convergent. The amount of area in this symmetric interval is convergent. Now you got to be careful about what the comparison test can't do. All right, so a couple things. If you establish that something converges, that the smaller one converges, it won't tell you what it converges to. Okay, I tried to stress that. It only will tell you that it does converge. It won't give you an exact answer. It just tells you that it has the property of being convergent. It also can't tell us the reverse. So if we try and change, we say that, would it be true that if this diverges based on the other one diverging? Okay, that's false. You can't change the word and have that be still true. Okay, in other words, if the larger one diverged, that doesn't tell you anything about the smaller one. A larger one growing without bound just means it's growing without bound. The smaller one might converge. It might not, but there's nothing conclusive you can reach from that. So that is false if we try and switch that. If we try and switch the other one, if we try and say that that converges and converges, so that does that work? In other words, if the smaller one converges, does that guarantee the larger one will converge? Well, just because the smaller one approaches a finite value, it does not guarantee anything about the larger one. The larger one could still head off to an infinite divergent value. Okay, there's no connection there whatsoever. So be careful about the order in which you do things. All right, so let's look at how that goes. Just to what can we tell? If the smaller one is divergent, then it will guarantee that the larger one will be divergent as well. Okay, it has to go in that order. This has to be number 1. The conclusion would be number 2. The other thing we can conclude is if we figure out that the larger one is convergent, and if we do that first, then we can conclude that the smaller one must also be convergent as well. But those are the only orders that it goes in. One has to come before the other. The smaller divergence or the larger convergence must come first before you can determine anything else. Okay? All right, so that wraps up chapter 8, this idea of the improper integrals. And we started with sequences and working with improper integrals. So I'll see you guys Tuesday morning, and I hope you have a good start to your week.